Good to go, sir.
Yes. Good morning, all the viewers out here. I extend a warm welcome to all my students, my faculties, and all the viewers who are watching our YouTube channel. Marking the celebration of the World Tourism Day very recently, we thought we would give this opportunity for all the students out here to understand the scenarios of the tourism industry across the globe. Especially, this is an apt topic right now because I felt things have been changing a lot due to pandemic, and I'm very sure tourism sector is one thing which is definitely going to be hit very badly for the next couple of years due to this pandemic. So we are very eager to know about the situation out here. And when we decided to talk about this tourism and hospitality, I couldn't remember anyone than my Filipino friend, Dr. Gina. She's a renowned tourism and hospitality faculty from Philippines who has agreed to address on the global tourism industry, the post-pandemic scenario. Before I get into her with the details, Philippines has always been my one of the favorite destination, and the kind of transformation that I've seen from last a decade is simply incredible. A small country with 100 million plus population has seen immense transformation in the field of agriculture, education, the technological sector, and now undoubtedly on the tourism and the hospitality. Yeah. So with this, I take a great pleasure to introduce. Yeah, I forgot to mention one thing. Philippines also has a fantastic dance troupe by name Filipino All Stars. I don't know whether you love dances. They were the world champions for World Hip Hop competition in 2006 and 2009. They always been my one of my favorite dance troupe across the world. It's simply incredible. Yes, students, I take this great opportunity to introduce Dr. Dina B. Alcoriza, who is a professor from University of Santo Thomas from Philippines. She is also the membership ambassador for Philippine Association of Research in Tourism and Hospitality. She's also the board member of Union of Filipino Tourism Educators, and she's also been a consultant for various local government units in specially giving consultancies on the tourism and related issues. She's also the member of Regional Quality Assurance Team of Commission on Higher Education, and she's a president of Council of Deans and Program Chairs for Tourism and Hospitality. She's also a renowned international speaker who often you can find her giving lectures on the various international platforms from Philippines, India, and Malaysia, and especially on the topic pertaining to the tourism and hospitality. She has completed her Doctor of Business Administration from the same university. And I take this great pleasure on behalf of Trisha Group of Institution to extend a warm welcome to Dr. Gina Alcoriza. Thank you so much for being here, ma'am. Before I give it on to you, I request my the chairman, CA Gopal Krishna Bhatt, to give his introductory remarks. Over to you, sir.
Very good morning, each and everyone who is present here. Welcome, Dr. Gina, for being on this particular day or been with us. And thanks, Guru, sir, for bringing Dr. Gina on the online platform and all the wonderful students and parents who are a part of this discussion. Dr. Gina today is very special to all Indians of two great leaders' birth anniversary today. That is Mahatma Gandhi ji and Lal Bahadur Shastri. And both of them has immensely contributed to the nation as well as the world. Need not to mention about MK Gandhi. And with the one thing which I always liked in Gandhi was about his non-violence, his core about non-violence and search for truth. Whereas Lal Bahadur Shastri was always a very, very simple man throughout his life and has taken our nation to the bigger height. There are criticisms to everyone. Even Sachin Tendulkar has criticism. Even Gandhi has criticism. Even our any great leaders, including Narendra Modi ji, has criticisms. Criticism is a part, but I always tell my students to look at what good qualities rather than looking any negatives of it. Very, very special to know. One instance I always quote in the when the time of Lal Bahadur Shastri, when he used to get the allowances from the government, could be 30 or 35 rupees. At the end of his month, he could spend only 31 rupees. And he write a letter to the president stating that please take back another 3.5 rupees, which will not make me to spend. I think such a great leader we rarely see in the sphere of politics. And that's what we call the good politics is all about. And same with the Gandhiji. And Gandhiji is not to mention, one of the writer tells, even after 100 years or 200 years, if a person walks like Gandhi, of the similar height and the size, then we feel that it is strange, not because of his looks, but because of the simplicity, and he was able to transform the billions of people in India. With that introductory remark, one thing which I remember about the words of Gandhi: let the windows and doors will be open to take anything from anywhere, but let the core values will not take fly away with that wind. Well, with that, I want to tell all my students, we are very lucky to have the people from the different part of the globe and come and address. It's our duty, and it's my request to all of you to make note whatever is required, whatever is there. And I always used to believe the post the pandemic, or even the era of pandemic, the biggest hit of all the industries about the tourism. And I am really surprised how that will be taken back. And I think who else other than Dr. Gina is going to address from the Philippines and give the idea and insights about world tourism. And one way where people look about India is about the one of the reason is about the tourism. I think Dr. Gina is going to give us an idea and insight how it is going to change, how it's going to have a different perspective to look. With that note, and wishing you all once again, the students, happy Gandhi Jayanti and happy Lal Bahadur Shastri Jayanti. And humbly, I request Dr. Gina to take over this platform and address our students. And in the one of the Sanskrit shloka, it says there are many ways you can increase the jnana. One is by the guru, one is by writing habits, one is by your experience, one is by vimarsha, where you get ideas, exchange of ideas, and get knowledge from different people, get their knowledge, share your knowledge, where that vimarsha becomes, vimarsha means, the charcha or discussion debate. I think Dr. Gina is able to talk to you, make a note, and obviously you can have the access to get back to her later post the session. Thank you. With that humble note, I hand over to Dr. Gina. It is a great honor that you are there with us and amongst all the students and parents. Over to Gina. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Okay, can I share my screen? Okay, good afternoon. I'm sorry. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to the Trisha group of institutions, the students, the faculty members, and of course, the administrators. But before I proceed with my presentation, I would like to say thank you for inviting me here in this platform. CA Gopal Krishna Bath, the founder and president of the Trisha Group of Institutions. And of course, my friend, Professor Guru Prasad Rao, the principal of the Trisha Video College. So I am very much happy to be with you today and be part of your team in giving such important talks with regards to the tourism industry this time of pandemic and after pandemic. Um, Thank you, Sir Gopal, for
Thank you.
your beautiful message. And I, re- I agree to you, to both of you, that India is a beautiful country. I'm looking forward to visit your country soon because of, not only for the tourist destinations or the tourist sites, your history, your culture, the hospitality of the people, and of course the great leaders you produced, in the past years and now. Um, I'm happy to be with you. This is really remarkable. Why? Because this is your celebration of the World Tourism Day. So I'm happy to be with you. And of course, I would like also to thank the Sir Guru Prasad Rao, okay, for your interest to visit the Philippines. I really love yeah, to invite you over there to visit the Philippines, the more than 7,000 islands Philippines with great culture, with great people, of course, and cuisine and everything. So the same with
I'm very
India.
eager for that. Very eager
Yeah.
for that.
Okay. So now I would like to present to you the global tourism industry, the post-pandemic scenarios. Okay, so I'm Dr. Gina Alcrisa from the University of Santo Tomas Legazpi. I'm streaming live from the Legazpi City, Philippines, where you can find the beautiful Mayon volcano. Okay, so our agenda for today is, of course, we have to discuss about the tourism industry performance. I will be giving you the idea of the tourism industry performance before COVID-19, and then the tourism industry due to pandemic, so during the pandemic, and of course the tourism industry post pandemic scenario. Okay, so just to give you an idea about what really happened before the COVID pandemic, tourism industry is actually considered as the dynamo of global economy. So I think everybody can agree to me that tourism really gi- giving impact to the global economy. Um, in 2019, year 2019 alone, okay, so the tourism industry contributed at least 8.9 trillion to the world's GDP, and then 10.3% of the global GDP. And okay, in terms of millions of jobs, in terms of job opportunities, the tourism industry provided 330 million jobs, and 1 in 10 jobs around the world came from the tourism industry. And of course, with regards to visitor exports, okay, so the tourism industry contributed 1.7 trillion US dollars visitor exports, and 948 billion capital investment in terms of US dollars. So if we can see, tourism is really a dynamo of economic development. It's really a good tool of every state or a country in order for them to alleviate their constraints in the economic development. Okay, and then this global spread of tourism in industrialized and developed places has produced economic and employment benefits in many related sectors. So it means this is not only for tourism industry alone. Tourism can really affect the development of other related industries like the construction industry, agriculture, and even telecommunications. Okay, so why we have to consider tourism? Tourism contributed 1.5 million, okay, tourist arrival in 2019. Okay, it represents 5% of the world GDP. It valued 1 trillion US dollars. It accounts for 6% of total global exports. Okay, one of the top export earners over 150 countries and ranked fourth in global exports. It contributes 1 out of 10 in global employment, and it's the main source of foreign exchange. This is really important, especially for the developing countries around the world. Okay, so giving you the scenario of the tourism industry. Okay, so tourism industry impacted, it has actually a multiplier effect to a destination where tourists visit. Okay, so when we have to analyze and we have to look into this picture, tourism adds value in every step of the way. Okay, so when a traveler visits a destination, it can contribute well to every sector in a particular destination. Say, for example, for the transport sector, for the restaurants, for the food service, for the accommodation, and even for the other sectors like bakery, like schools, farms, and other support services like banks, telecommunications, okay, and then the other suppliers of of goods to the sectors that the tourism really represents. Okay, but during the first quarter of year 2020, so we experienced the impact of the COVID-19. The tourist arrival in March 2020, okay, it drastically down by 57%, I'm sorry, and then loss of 67 million international arrivals in about 80 billion US dollars in receipts, tourist receipts or tourist income. And imagine it losses 100 million jobs because of the closures of establishments. Okay. And then about 100% of the destinations across the globe stopped accommodating guests, which greatly affect the global economy. Okay. Cancellation of flights, closure of restaurants, hotels, the amusement parks, everything related to travel and tourism. 64 global airlines have completely stopped flying scheduled flights since March. Okay, airlines lose up 113 billion US dollars in passengers revenue according to International Air Transport Association. And travel restrictions and closures of borders resulted to business shutdown or slow down. So as of this time, we are actually in the 7 months already that we experience closure of restaurants, closure of hotels, even malls, and other related support industries to the travel and tourism. Okay, this is really sad for the tourism industry that we have 6 months to 7 months. Okay, losses of income, shutdown of their operations, and slowdown of their um, operations in many sectors of the tourism industry. Okay, so what other things happen? Okay, so closure of borders with little or notice, 100% destinations. Okay, so even now we have still no closed our borders for international travel. Millions of tourists stranded during the crisis, different lack and treatment depending on nationality and destination. So during the lockdown, the first day of the lockdown, we have experienced lots of millions of tourists stranded in different destinations across the globe. And it really sad for the outbreaks in cruises, resorts, and hotels. So our cruise ships, the luxury cruise ships nowadays, hundreds of cruise ships actually in their mirage or in their um, respective headquarters. Okay, lack of information of what to do, most especially for those stranded passengers and for because we confronted with an unprecedented crisis, we are not ready for the this crisis. So we experience lack of information of what to do, where to pay our bills, how to cancel our flights, how to refund our payments for our flights because of the cancellations. So those are the things that really um, sad for the tourism industry. So limited access to accommodation and public health in destinations during lockdown. Yes, because most of the destinations in all over the globe. Okay, in our case, we use the luxury hotels into a quarantine facility for our OFW, or our overseas Filipino workers who are repatriated from their jobs in their country, in their workplaces all over the world. So aside from that, the public health, no, we have limited access in the public health because of the COVID cases. Okay, millions of flights canceled. Okay, so until now we have limited international flights. It's only for the workers, no leisure travel first now, and as of this time. Okay, travel and health insurances not covering acts of God or pandemia. So this is really happening. This is one of the considerations nowadays. Maybe in the future we have to consider pandemic, okay, and the coverage of insurances, most especially in the travel insurance. Okay, so looking into the tourism arrival by region in the first quarter of 2020, so we have such a drastic a decrease of tourist arrival, most particularly in these countries like, okay, in Africa, Middle East, okay, and the Americas, it's just 15%. So in Asia, it's 35%. Okay, so it's actually one of the things that really considered in the tourism industry during the pandemic. Okay, but since pandemic, this COVID-19 pandemic is just temporary. So we have to be optimistic enough in order for us to move forward. And we have to look ahead of what to do in the next 2 years, 3 years. So we are looking into the possibility of by having international travels by the middle of 2021. So if we can analyze, we have to wait at least 10 months, 11 months before we travel to our desired international destinations. Okay, for leisure travel. So this is actually the presented recovery international demand by the UNWTO. So by June in 2020, so we considered 40% for the domestic travel, and then by September and October now, so we are actually experiencing escalating number of international travel, but this is not purely for leisure. Okay, and we are looking into international travel by 2021. Okay, so let's take a look now onto the post-pandemic scenarios. So since we are in the recovery phase, okay, or should I say restarting phase of tourism. So restarting is actually used by UNWTO. Okay, so as travelers, okay, when we travel, we have to comply terminal scanning and health forms in traveling. Okay, so as travelers, we have to be at the before we have to report at the airport 2 hours before the time because of the check-in and other and immigration clearances. But now, I think we have to report, no, to come to our respective international airports at least 3 hours before because of this new protocols. Okay, so we have to observe physical distancing, and we have to say goodbye first with buffet. So all of us are actually um, visiting places, and we really love buffet and in our hotels and other areas of our destinations we visiting. Okay, so we have a new food service style nowadays, and the COVID-19 test and vaccine and securing visa is actually considered before traveling. Okay, So 50% capacity for transports, most particularly for airlines, for the aircrafts, for our trains and other transport facilities. So I think in India, you are practicing this since you are opening also your domestic travel. So here we are practicing 50% capacity of transport for buses, for trains, and for our airlines. So attractions for the theme parks, for the tourist sites. Okay, this is actually a very strict implementation of the observation of the carrying capacity. So they have to look into how many persons can be accommodated considering the physical distancing. Okay, awareness of the threat of COVID is there. So we are talking about here the trust of our guests. So do you think people now are ready to travel? Considering that they are very much aware of the threat of the COVID-19 that is available all over the world, all over the area we are visiting. Okay, and then restricted border crossing. So I think we have to be prepared on this in choosing our destination because not all countries are open for international travel. So there are countries now that are actually considering travel bans for some areas. Like 2 weeks ago, I read some news article that India, Philippines, and Indonesia are citizens are not accepted in Malaysia. Okay, so that's temporary. But because of our COVID cases, the increasing COVID cases, so we really understand because they work hard in order for them to those countries like Malaysia, they work hard for this COVID-19 in order for them to recover no fast. Okay, so we have to respect their um, guidelines also. Okay, so aside from travelers, okay, so we have to consider also what may be the scenarios in the tourism enterprises. So nowadays, the tourism enterprises or the tourism oriented and related enterprises are actually focused on recovery due to the closure of tourism companies, layoffs, and income losses. So they are trying hard to restart, to redefine their strategies in order to meet the standards after pandemic, and then inclusive response for the vulnerable groups, most particularly for the senior citizens, for the children, for women, and for PWD or the differently abled persons. And then, okay, another thing that considered nowadays by the tourism enterprises, the personal training, most particularly in the digital skills of their personnel. So I can say I learned from Sir that uh, our students here attending are commerce students. Okay, so one of the problems now of the tourism enterprises, of course, the trainings, now the cost of trainings for their employees, and then most particularly, we can consider that more than 50% the of the tourism enterprises are small medium enterprises in the tourism industry. Okay, shift and new operation guidelines and new product concept. When in terms of operation guidelines, okay, so we have 24/7 before operations of say McDonald's or other food outlets, but now they listen their number of hours of operation, and then the new product concept. So most particularly in packaging and their um, type of service. Okay, so in our case, and other places, actually, I have some reviews, okay, and in other countries, they have to open restaurants, but with physical distancing, one or two persons per for a table that can accommodate at least five or six, but now we can accommodate only 2 to 3 persons. Okay, so acquiring new equipment, okay, and supplies. So it's another cost for the tourism enterprises nowadays to acquire the thermal scanning and other supplies in order to meet now the standards, in order to meet the protocols um, implemented by their respective government agencies. And then uh, the 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 change of tourist market nowadays. Okay, so we have the senior travelers before, but now they are restricted to travel. And of course, the young generation, they are locked down in their houses. So most particularly, the Gen Z, like our students nowadays listening, you are actually one of the best market for tourism, most particularly for the educational tours, for the restaurants, like you have fun in having such milk teas, with having such jamming, with having such staying in such restaurants now. But now you are restricted to visit such places. So those are the things that considered by the tourism enterprises nowadays. Okay, so in terms of the regulators, so when we say regulators in our um okay, and the tourism industry, so those are the Department of Tourism or Ministry of Tourism in other areas, okay, and then of course the other support agencies that really support the operations of tourism. So their focus now is more on health and security. Okay, so before, because of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, before the pandemic, the government regulators are really looking forward for the sustainable development programs, or they have such plan for every destination. But now they have to divert their focus on the priorities on health and security. Okay, and then regaining, it's there are actually difficulties now on how to launch a program in order to regain the public and market trust. So say, for example, visiting the Philippines, although you are very much eager to visit us here because of our culture, because of our natural attractions, but um, considering that you are aware that COVID is there, okay, so I think you have to think twice. Okay. So for you to visit the Philippines, even though we have to open out, we have to open the international tourism. Okay. So this is actually one of the um, important concern of the regulators or the government agencies in our country, on how to regain public trust, on how to regain the market trust in order to visit our destinations. Okay, and their support to the small medium enterprises, as I told you, that the tourism industry is composed of more than 50% now of the tourism enterprises are small and medium enterprises. So this sector actually really affected, no, by the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's the duty, okay, it's actually the important role of the regulators to support the small medium enterprises through free trainings, okay, and then in some government in some countries, they have to offer loans, they have to offer assistance, financial assistance in order for them to restart their business. And then their focus now is the guidelines for recovery, how to recover tourism in their particular destination. And then the transition to circular economy and embrace the sustainable development goals. So this is really challenging for the regulators because we have to uh, consider now the circular economy. We have to look into the what resources are available in our immediate environment, and we have to maximize those things, those resources in order for us to survive. But we need to consider also no the sustainable development goals of the United Nations. Okay, so when you are traveling nowadays, you have to follow this. This is actually given by the United Nations World Tourism Organization, most particularly for the international travelers. Okay, so you have to look or search or book no online. Okay, you can use your phones, you can use your smartphones. Okay, so you have to look for the information and health requirements, procedures for the origin, your origin. Okay, like India, and of course you have to look also of the health regulations of your destination. So the information for cancellation and policies of sick while traveling at a destination. Okay, so you have to be mindful nowadays on how to use the digital platforms in order for you to search for information and book for your own travel. Okay, and when you are leaving home for your travel, you have to be um, equipped of having such contactless payment and local transportation. Okay, so you have to pay it online. Okay, and then you have to consider the physical distancing rules, the protocols in place at your local transportation. So beforehand, before leaving home, before booking, you have to look for in of the health requirements of your destination online. Okay, on your way, you have to advance contactless check-in. Okay, so you have to um, consider, you have to expect that hotels nowadays are actually practicing contactless check-in, boarding in, contactless boarding, and then pre-allocated seats. Okay, so before we can actually go now walk in for our hotels, but now you have to consider the reservations because of the pre-allocated seat or pre-allocated rooms for our guests. Limit carry-on baggage. Yes, okay. Would require use of overhead bins. Okay, so we have to practice travel light nowadays. Okay, contactless border control when you are going outside your country. Okay, so you must be ready with your smartphones, with all the applications, with all the contacts. Now, in order for you to have to practice this contactless, no, system in order to get information, to book your to check in for boarding, everything. Okay, so operational transportation infrastructures and operations adapted to physical distancing. So you have to be ready for this type of scenario nowadays. Okay, at the destination, okay, you have to download the tracking map. Oh, we have GPS, we have Waze, a lot of applications in order for us to look for our desired stops or desired tourist spots. Okay, and then remember, this is the health protocols would not only be true in the terminals or in the airports, but health protocols along the tourism value chain. You have to consider this. Okay, when you approach the accommodation, you have to follow the health protocols. When you have to approach the transportation, you have to follow the health protocols imposed by that particular um, transportation outlet or unit. Okay, and then restaurants and so with attractions. So every time you move, you have to follow health protocols, contactless payments and check-ins, and all those like accommodation, the transportation, restaurants, and attractions. Okay, e-tickets and e-booking for visits and entertainment. Okay, so those are the things that we can look forward nowadays during this post-pandemic. Okay, clear communication and protocols and regulation in place all touch on all touch points. Okay, so SMS to visitors upon arrival, no? Inform them on rules and regulations in place nationally or locally. So okay, so we are be ready of this kind of scenario when we have to travel, not only international, but even during your domestic travel, you have to follow this. You have to take note of these things that can be done, no, that can be practiced during your travel. Okay, so since we are optimistic. We are very much eager. We are focused on the tourism recovery. So the theme of the UNWTO during the World Tourism Day and September 27, 2020, okay, sustainable development and rural development. So the focus now is more on the rural, no? The rural communities. Okay, not only the urban cities, but um, we have to consider the outskirt of development. We have to consider the development, disperse the development in the rural communities. So that's why the UNWTO, since we have this pandemic and we are about to restart tourism, uh, one thing that is very good is putting people first. Okay, so the UNWTO launched this global guidelines to restart tourism. This is actually released in May. Okay, so the UNWTO, no, okay, our regulator of tourism worldwide, calling us to have cooperation. We have to consider the health. We have to be united. We are the UNWTO calling the solidarity of the people around the world. Okay, and of course our resiliency. We must all be resilient enough because we are caught unprepared of this crisis. We are all okay, not selected, but we are all across the globe. We experienced that pandemic. Okay, so um, these are the things that focused by the UNWTO, the safe and seamless border management, okay, in order for every one of us to stay away from COVID-19, okay, and then the private sector has such cost-cutting measures, okay, so in the UNWTO focus on the safe travel by air, okay, by having such guidelines and implementing the strict, okay, health protocols on air, okay, the hospitality now has changed already, okay, the tourism and the tour operators and travel agencies must initiate some marketing and promotional strategies, and then they have to package a product, the tourist product, no, the travel package, okay, into a very resilient, a very safe and sound, okay, remarkable for the remarkable experience of the traveler, but consider also, of course, the trust of the market or the tourist. Okay, so there are guidelines in events and meetings, okay, to be conducted during the post-pandemic. and then with clear guidelines in terms of attractions and thematic parks. Okay, so since people are very much eager to visit these parks for uh, the change of environment, okay, and then destination planning and management. So those are the focus of the UNWTO for us to recover tourism. So these are the priorities of UNWTO nowadays. So we have to look into this. Okay, so innovation and sustainability, the public-private collaboration, the safety and security, of course, and then the added value through technology, okay, and protect jobs and business. Okay, so if we can see, this is very comprehensive in order for us to restart tourism. Okay, so look into the innovation and sustainability. So the thing that we need to consolidate the national and global innovative ecosystem. Okay, so we have to look into the ecosystem nowadays of our businesses, of our tourism industry. Okay, and then innovate business models. Okay, so it's a call for us to innovate our business models nowadays because this is a very different no scenario from what we have, okay, before the pandemic. Okay, circular economy in the tourism value chain. Okay, we need to consider what are the available resources in our immediate environment, and then we have to consider it in our value chain. More resource efficient and low carbon tourism. So we are talking about now sustainability. So we have to look into programs that we use our environment, our resources in our environment, but we need to protect, no? And we have to conserve the use of its natural areas. We have to consider the remarkable experience of the tourist by offering our culture, our own culture to our guests, but we need to protect the culture. We need to be um, uh, conservative in showing or disclosing our culture to our tourists. Okay, so we have to protect and preserve our culture for the next generation. And then, of course, we have to um, think that tourism can give us or can provide us job opportunities, income, okay, for our economic development. But don't forget to consider that the tourist receipts or the income must benefit no the local people, the local residents. Okay, because sometimes we experience leakage, we experience such higher prices because of tourism. We experience leakage. The income of our tourism uh, must be provided to the foreign people, okay, or for the foreign investors. But we have to look into that particular program that the focus of our economic development must be on the local communities. Okay, so we have to be enthusiastic to offer our destinations, but we have to look into its sustainability. Okay, the carrying capacity and advanced effective destination management. Okay, for us to realize no the sustainability, we have to look for the carrying capacity. Okay, and then we have to be effective and efficient and managing destination. What I mentioned a while ago is actually one of the strategies in order for us to effectively manage our destination. We have to look for the local economies. Okay, so remember, that's the focus of the tourism uh, during the World Tourism Day. Okay, so looking into the safety and security, okay, safety and hygiene protocols must be observed every time. I told you, okay, that we have to look into that every time we move, we have to comply the safety and hygiene protocols. Clear information to travelers and existing measures. Okay, so this should be disseminated to all the stakeholders of tourism with such clear information with regards to measures, with regards to guidelines and everything about the destination and about the way, their journey towards the destination. Okay, human-centered communication. Okay, since we are all victims, should I say victims? We experience this pandemic together. So we have to be empathetic enough to other people who are securing or who are asking some information coming from us. Okay, so
Right.
we have to be empathetic. We have to give them information. We have na factual, okay, not fake. Okay, and then we have to be patient in replying or giving them such information, and define roles, responsibilities in many areas, and of course the seamless travel. Okay, for the public private partnership, okay, collaboration between the government and the, sir, okay, you can actually tell me if we have to end the session already. Okay, can I?
Yeah, no problem. Please go on. Go on. We have time.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so this is one of the good things, no, that we have to know about this. The definition of and implementation of health-related protocols must be collaborated between the government and the private sector. So we have to go hand in hand. We have to be partnered with our government sectors and of course the private sector of the tourism industry. Share knowledge and practices. It's one of the collaboration between the public and the private, and better and shared data system. So say for example, sharing of the COVID cases, no, for the private stakeholders from the public sector, and sharing of their constraints, the constraints of the private sectors to the public sector or the government. So those are the things that we can consider nowadays. We have to such this close collaboration between the public and the private sector. And then in our post-pandemic scenario, we have to consider all the time the value of technology. Okay, so added value for the tourism product, the digital transformation and new profiles for cybersecurity, the big data analysis, the data scientists are those things that can consider nowadays. Okay, the online training to skill up the staff, no, are actually the programs of the UNWTO in order for us to restart tourism. So we have to embrace the changes in order to for us to move forward. Okay, so one of the best things that I can say is to protect jobs and business, of course. This is the lifeblood of the tourism industry. Okay, so value added trainings for our workers nowadays. Okay, and then inclusivity. We have to practice inclusivity now. It's included in the UN priorities. And we have to look into the new market nowadays. Okay, because we have a different scenario. Okay, the operational standards must be creatively and comprehensively be discussed and implemented. Okay, the creation of new job positions in some companies. Okay, and we have to design new services for tourism. And then another thing that is very, I think it's an immediate response to the tourism industry to support our entrepreneur. Okay. And then, of course, the dialogue with workers because of losses of jobs and everything that really affects our labor force, not only in our country, but all over the world. Okay. So we have here the tourism recovery scenario. Okay, the COVID-19 tourism recovery technical assistance package for the tourism stakeholders. Okay, so UNWT has made a strong statement, okay, for us now that stay home today. Okay, so we have to be patient now to stay home today because we are looking forward to travel tomorrow. Okay, so the main pillars of tourism recovery plan, we have the economic recovery, okay, we have the marketing and promotion, the institutional strengthening and resiliency building. So these are the three pillars, the main pillars of tourism recovery. This should be implemented by each state na, of our countries and each local government in every country. Okay, so they have the guidelines on how to recover the local economy, and they have to carefully design a marketing program for them to um, uh, market the destination at the same time gain the public or the market trust not to visit the destination. And then the government must have such uh, a strong, okay, guidelines or programs to support the private stakeholders in order for us to recover tourism. Okay. I'm happy to share with you the national and local initiatives of many countries nowadays. They since we can offer international tourism, so they focus on local tourism. Okay. So they focus on farm tourism, community-based tourism, local tourism circuit, okay, the health and wellness tourism, ecotourism, with small groups of people. Okay, so we started gradually the tourism industry in our locality for local tourists first, the domestic tourists, but because of the creativity of many local governments, we have such things that farm tourism. So we appreciate nature nowadays. We appreciate our local community because we cannot visit the urban cities. Okay. And the local government designed the local tourism circuits. Okay. So the government budget no, has this allocations to assist the tourism stakeholders. And many local governments, they have to embrace the digitalization in the operations of their offices or their tourism enterprises. Defining guidelines on cancellations. This is actually one of the things that can be considered nowadays because of we need to consider the consumer confidence. So since March, we have canceled our flights, most particularly the international flights. So we must have such uh, defined guidelines, clear guidelines on cancellations and clear guidelines on how to make a refund, okay, or how to rebook those canceled flights. Okay, and added value for tourism products since we are entering the new phase of tourism. So we have to be to initiate also to be creative enough to add value to our existing tourism products. Okay, so say for example, for farm tourism, they offer, okay, the farm to table practice, okay, in order for the locals to benefit from tourism. Okay, so those are examples. Forming tourism bubbles or travel bridges or corona corridors. This actually practiced by some countries with uh, countries already recovered from COVID-19. So they offer um, tourism bubble. They offer travel from one city with cleared from COVID to other city, no, international city, with cleared COVID. So they both recovered from COVID-19 pandemic. So they offer international travel from their city to that particular partner city. Okay, without quarantine or without many other protocols implemented. Okay, so before I end, I would like to um, say this. Okay, although we are in the pandemic nowadays, but remember, difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. I think, Sir Principal, agree for this. Okay, and during our journey, we have to enjoy the ride. Okay. So remember, we have to look into the beautiful destinations ahead. Okay. And then remember, no, don't give up because we will travel well together very soon. That's very soon. Okay. I'm looking forward for your visit here to the Philippines, and I'm looking forward also for me to visit India for the first time. Okay. And before I end, I would like to invite you to visit our beautiful place. Okay. This is Legazpi City, Philippines. It's located around 500 kilometers south of our capital, Manila, Philippines. And Albay is the home of the beautiful Mayon volcano. It's an active volcano. Okay. So, yes, sir. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope I can share to you my insights about the tourism industry and the post pandemic scenario. Thank you so much.
I think we are all 200% sure now why we invited you for this talk. Very, very informative. Trust me, we didn't expect that it can be so deep and so much of research that is involved. It's amazing to have you, Dr. Gina. It's indeed a great honor.
Yes,
It's a
sir.
really an
Yes,
eye
yes, sir.
opener.
Because I need to prepare. It's you who invited me, right?
My pleasure always. I mean, I was keenly interested in this topic personally because I do travel a lot, and I was very interested to know the scenarios which is going to happen there. Now, with your permission, Dr. Gina, can I take a couple of minutes for asking any questions to you? Is it
Oh,
possible?
sure, sir. Sure.
Yes. Thank you. We have two questions received from the students. Well, before that, how is the current situation in Philippines on the pandemic, Dr. Gina? How is it? I mean, especially, can you
Okay.
tell also about the education sector, the schools, colleges open there?
Okay. In terms of our tourism industry in general, sir, we are trying to restart, okay, to resume gradually uh, the tourism and travel. But we started with domestic travel. So we open our destinations like Boracay, okay, Baguio City, and other important destinations in our country for domestic travels as of this time. But they have to follow the protocols, okay, the health protocols implemented by the interagency task force, no? And then the tourism enterprises that are allowed to open are those who are permitted to open. Okay, based on the guidelines of the Department of Tourism in our country. And
Mhm.
then, okay, we are looking for at least by 2021, okay, we are looking forward for gradually opening our borders for the international travel. We are hoping and praying for that, sir, okay, because of the economic impact, no, by this activities, and we have a lot of travels that are put on hold because of this pandemic. We have canceled our many travels for domestic and international. Okay. And with regards to our educational system, most of our schools nowadays are actually open for our first semester. Okay, we have 2 semesters in one school year here. So we some opened in August, some September, but okay, in blended modalities. So we have modular, okay, with the modules, and we have the online, the virtual meeting with our students. So in our case, we opened our school for our students August 10, and we are in the midterm period already. And we gave them through the LMS the modules online, and then we meet them, no, at least three times a week, okay, for the virtual meeting, sir.
All right. The situation in India is quite worse, actually. As of now, we
Uh,
stand number two in terms of the number of COVID cases next to US. So the
yes,
schools and
sir.
colleges have been shut down since March 2020, and I don't think so. It will open for another couple of months, and we are able to only interact with our students, as you said, on the technological platform like this, the virtual classes and all that. Uh, both of us, the faculties and students are finding it really difficult to adjust because this is something really very new. But I believe this is what the future of education is going to be in the coming days. The modes of
Yeah.
the virtual relations. Now, Philippines, I understand that you have much more than the tourism. I have been doing quite a research of Philippines from the last couple of years, be it agriculture, be it education sector, be it the financials, the technological transformations, simply incredible. But I'm really concerned of the countries like which are completely dependent on tourism. Like many of the Asian countries, including Indonesia, it can be Singapore, it can be Malaysia, it can be Thailand. The economy is purely running because of the tourism, and it's a big hit nowadays. And how do you think these countries should manage? Where there is such a drop in the income for them. What do you think?
Okay. So since there are actually countries and parts of that particular country are more independent in the tourism sector for for their economy. Okay. So this is actually a very challenging time for those countries or for those places who are very much dependent to tourism. But now the as I presented, okay, the local governments are very much creative. They initiated some programs in order for them to support the small medium enterprises, because most of the businesses in the tourism sectors are small medium enterprises, sir, right? Okay. So, and aside from that, they actually reopen, no, tourism gradually with such uh, physical distancing, with such 50% capacity, in order for the tourism enterprises to survive. Okay. And then aside from that, they divert, no, say for example, in some destinations, they have to look into the resources available, like the farm tourism. So they offer now, they encourage, no, people and their community to develop farm tourism in order to maximize the use of the resources in the locality, and at the same time the the income should only circulate within the locality. So those are the
Yes.
things that really a very impressive actions of those local government and other stakeholders of tourism in many places around the world, sir. But I think for the urban cities, they're trying to reopen also, because people are visiting bars, visiting okay, restaurants nowadays, but with limited capacity. So
Numbers.
at least they have such income, even just a little. right? Just to survive for now.
So situation is quite challenging. We can only pray that it comes to normal and every country and beautiful globe, gets the blossom in the coming days. But then, final question to you, Dr. Jina. Whatever government does, UN, WTO, you gave an excellent presentation about the guidelines, the support these governments are giving to the tourism industries and all that. But finally, it is the call of a citizen or an individual person to travel. They should be well confident enough, brave enough to consider this travel, because a lot of my friends, I would not like to travel for the next 5 years. I mean, there's already a mindset that has gone into their head that I'm not going to travel any part of the globe for the next 5 years. So apart from bringing all these modalities in one picture, how can government make this mindset of the citizens like you're good to go, you're safe to travel? That is a very challenging thing, I think, Dr.
That's
Gina. What do you
correct, sir. Okay. Okay. Actually, sir, I have we had a research.
say?
My co-authors of research are from India. Actually, they
Oh,
yeah, they North India. Okay, so we have to ask more, no more tourists from India. Okay, more your citizen. Okay, of their perception on how on the coronavirus and how and their perceptions to visit international destinations. But it's really positive, sir. So they are very much optimistic to visit the different international destinations in the next 2 years. Okay,
wow.
see, so we are actually, for me, I think you can agree for me because as a tourism uh, advocate, okay,
Mhm,
as person in the tourism industry, I am
mhm.
not afraid to visit countries, right? As long as
Same
you
here,
have
same
to,
here. Same
yeah,
with me.
okay. It's as long as you have to follow the protocols. And as I told the students, the attendees, you have to research more on the situation of the destination. It depends on your choice of destination. And of course,
Absolutely.
you have to improve also your health. Now you have to be ready. Now personally, your mental capacity, your physical health for you to to get such journey to take such journey to visit any destination of choice. Okay, sir. Okay, so do you think you can? I am looking forward to travel international, sir, by next year.
Wow.
But
Same
not
here. Definitely. I'm looking
yeah,
forward.
because it's in our blood. It's it's really in our culture already. It's our passion to travel. And I told my students, actually, this is the longest time I never travel. No, okay, right, sir, this is the
Yes.
longest time, 7 months. So it's sad
Too
for
long time.
me.
Yeah,
Okay,
I've seen
okay.
a lot of your students also visit as a part of their industrial visit. I've seen you taking to the various places. I'm really sure that even your students are just eager like you to start traveling various places, isn't it?
Okay. So just be careful, sir. Yeah, right? Okay, just be ready. Okay, it's just like a war, right? Okay.
I know.
But
I agree with you.
sir, tourists are actually with different characteristics, with different preferences. We have tourists that
Right.
really right? We have war tourists, we have Tana tourists, we have right? The disaster tourists. So they have travel to the disaster prone areas. So they are not afraid to travel. So depends on the perception of the guest. Depends on your the right, sir? Tama? Tama ba? Mabuhay. Okay.
All right. Thank you. And all the students out here, we come to an end of this wonderful informative session from Dr. Gina Alcoriza from Philippines, who spent a valuable time with us and telling us a very deep insight about the global tourism industry and the probable scenarios that can happen in the coming years. And one thing, what I found out in her entire lecture, that she's very positive about the situation to get normal very soon. And she
Yeah,
says she's
sure.
willing to travel immediately. Within 1 year, she's willing to travel. And yes, that's the positives that I think we all of us should carry, not giving much importance to the news which are not so authentic enough. I think the whole world is waiting for the people to move around everywhere and start meeting and greeting people. I hope that your first international travel will be to India and to my institute as well. I would really look forward to see you here. And yes, and my long pending waiting list to visit Philippines is also in the list, but I can definitely eager to do so.
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Gina, on behalf of my chairman, CA Gopal Krishna Bhatt, my entire students fraternity of all the branches, and my faculties of all the branches, I extend a big heartfelt thank you to you for spending your valuable time with us and giving an excellent presentation. Thank you so much, Dr. Gina. This is just a beginning. I'm very sure we'll have many more interactions in the coming days.
Okay, my pleasure, my friend, in sharing my thoughts, my my expertise, to all the students, not only the tourism students and hospitality students, but any program that I can share my expertise in tourism. As I told you, this is the time that I want to introduce the tourism management in your
Very light.
institution. You have to
These are
offer
very light.
tourism management. Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. I will
yeah.
take that as a suggestions from your side. I can definitely try and implement it in my students, in my institute. Yes.
Yes, sir. And hope to see you soon. Okay.
Yes, same here,
Maybe
definitely.
here in the Philippines or there in India.
In
And
India.
before okay, I would like to thank the Trisha group of institutions and of course Professor Guru Prasad Rao, my friend, okay, from India. Okay. And then to you all, my dear students, no, faculty members who listened and participate in this digital platform. I hope to see you face to face in 2022.
Absolutely.
And be safe always there. Okay, I know the situation of coronavirus in your area because I have a lot of friends now from India. Okay, who always update me, no? Okay, about the situation. Okay, keep safe, be healthy, and God bless you all. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Mabuhay from the Philippines.
Yes, thank you so much. I wish you a great day ahead. You too. Stay safe.
Thank you, sir.